Yep.
Sylvia? Christina? Okay.
Well, we had Sylvia.
No, we didn't. I thought we did. I was wrong. It was Rosalie.
Oh, so we didn't have Sylvia.
No, we didn't have Sylvia.
Rosalie, are you there?
Rosalie, you there?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
We're just taking attendance, so I just want to make sure you're here.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, in case you weren't, you forgot about us or something.
Okay.
All righty. All right, let's call this to attend meeting to order. If we can all rise to pledge to the flag. The pledge of allegiance to the flag.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty. We're going to be going into executive session at this moment for a brief period. Okay, now executive session for the public is a period where we go and we have a private conversation about issues such as personnel matters or student issues. And so this is yeah, but the thing is that YouTube's not following us in real time.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so we were ideally going to be doing this through WebEx together, and then YouTube would have been streaming for the public.
Mm-hmm.
But Fortunately, it's not working out quite that way. And so if you're going to watch YouTube, you're going to watch us, in delay. Okay, so can I have a motion to approve the minutes from the regular meeting on March 10th, 2020?
Lynn, motion.
I'm sorry, Lynn, and second?
Linda.
Dino?
Lynn and Linda. All right, questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained? The minutes are approved. Ideally, we would be able to go into public comment on agenda items, but that's not.
Okay, did we receive anything
We did not.
from the public?
Okay, so we received no comments on agenda items, and student government is not with us at this point, and so we're going to move on to the board
So I have a
president.
quick question.
Mark.
YouTube says there's 22 people watching now.
Okay.
With Kay, with all of us that we know are involved, does that mean there's maybe a couple other folks out there watching that we don't know and might want to give them a second or two to post their question?
Oh, they're not going to really be able to do that through YouTube. We don't have.
Okay.
We don't have a way for them to access us that way.
All right.
When we put out the announcement, we asked for questions or comments at that time, and for them to write it in, and then we'd address them, at the meeting.
Gotcha.
All right. And so now going into the reports for the board president, I only had one item down, and that was a remembrance. One of the sad things that had happened since our last meeting is that we had lost a former board member. He was a longtime board member, Dave Hansen. And so, it was sad to learn that we had lost him. He'd passed as a result of an accident in the home. I can't remember how many years he had served on the board, but it had been in the teens at least. Yeah, at least. And for me personally, Dave was one of the first people who had really, been had an impact on me as a personal member on the board. I remember the day that I was elected to the board, David, he'd come up to me and he just kind of came up to my ear and he just wanted to let me know that that he wanted to let me know that he voted for me. And from that moment, he won. There was nothing that man could do wrong by me. Okay, I didn't care. He was a remarkably brilliant man, and he had some incredible insights and wisdom. He had some interesting ideas from time to time, but again, that didn't matter to me because he could do me no wrong. He was a character, and he was a lovely person. And when I learned that he wasn't going to run for this last term, I was really disappointed because I'd always enjoyed serving with him. And so I just wanted to, remember what a great time I had working with him, and also remember how much of an impact he'd had on this board. He was an independent voice in this board. He spoke with a voice that he didn't care what anybody thought of what his opinion was. If he was in disagreement with something, he let everyone know exactly how he felt about it, regardless of what the group thinking might have been. And so his passing for me was a significant loss, and I just wanted to make mention of my personal experience. And so if there's anyone else who would like to make any remarks, please feel free.
I was just going to add that, Mark here, that he did a lot of the, what probably most of us would consider the least exciting grunt work of what the board members do, of audit committees, the stuff you're not doing cartwheels to sign up for. Dave did all that for years and years and years, and that's one of the things I remember most about him. Like whenever it was time for the audit reports, he would talk about the process and what he thought about each audit report, and you could tell that, oh boy, he was involved with it deeply and meticulously, and I would just echo what you said. Dave was not particularly, I wouldn't call him an extrovert, but he was not shy when he felt something strongly. And very sorry to hear that he passed from an accident. I know he was kind of up there in years, but I agree. He was a great board member, and his service will be remembered.
I just want to add, Tony, here that Dave was a good man. We agreed on almost nothing. We had some very lively discussions, and he tried to explain calculus to me once, and after about 3 words, that was it. He was a brilliant man, just an incredibly good person, and I really miss him. He was an independent thinker. He would go, what he thought was or didn't matter what the political side was. If he didn't like something, he would say it, and if he did like something, he would say it. And I really miss him too.
This is John Horanchek. I'll just add that I always admired Dave with how he cared for his wife, particularly as she got more and more in terms of need. I didn't know him all that well in his personal life, but I could tell that it takes a lot of effort and time and love to care for someone in that condition, and I always admire Dave for that. He also gave me great advice, which I'll share. When I was trying to figure out my oldest daughter going to college, I talked to Dave about it, and he said he's seen a lot of kids come to Binghamton, and it was their stretch school. In other words, that they probably shouldn't have gone because they struggled quite a bit. And his philosophy was, just because you got into school doesn't mean you should necessarily go there. I think those were his exact words. And my daughter, who's getting through her first year of college, is probably pretty happy she didn't go to her stretch school. So I'll always think of Dave when I talk to my kids about college.
Is there anybody else?
Well, this is Linda, and I want to say that Dave Hansen was appeared at board meetings as quite analytical and serious, but he also had a side to him that was real different. He had a tremendous sense of humor, down to earth, and I always felt that I could go to Dave with a question, he would answer me, and I felt support from him. And just ditto what John said, that I greatly admired the tremendous love and support he showed his wife during the very difficult months of the last few months of her life. He was so dedicated, and I will remember him mostly above all for the kind of man he was, in addition to being a consistent, reliable board member.
Hey, thanks, Linda. And if we're all done, if we could just have a moment of silence in Dave's memory. Hey, thank you all. I appreciate it. All right, that's it for me. Are there any reports from the liaisons? Okay,
Why not?
just in case. And so up to the superintendent.
Okay, thank you. We're going to start with an update on our capital improvement project. So I'll turn it over to Cliff for an update.
Yeah, so right now with capital improvement, we are, construction is happening as normal. And with that, they're working in the high school, actually running some conduit. The high school is going to get the refillable water fountain, so students can walk by with a bottle and they can fill their water bottle for them. So that's good, that's happening. They're going to put that conduit in, and they're working on the Project Lead the Way room, continuing in that area. And also at the middle school, they are finishing up the floors in the world language classrooms. And then they're also starting demolition in the family consumer science art. And there's another classroom in that wing. And they're starting that demolition now to get a head start on the construction. So they're in their full swing and going at it.
Okay, thanks.
Yes.
And any questions?
I was just wondering if, I know some work at the middle school was slated to happen over spring break. I was just wondering if that is going to get accelerated or just everything's on the usual timeline.
Yeah, hey, Mark. So what's happened there is that's kind of getting accelerated because they had slated to finish the world language classrooms and then transition from world language to the other hallway where the family consumer science and art classrooms are. So they were going to do that over spring break. But right now, they're doing that now. So they have crew members in there finishing the floor world language classrooms. And then in that family consumer science and art classroom, they are starting the demo in those rooms right now. So they're 2 weeks ahead of time.
Silver linings.
Yeah. Next, we have our budget update for the 2020-21 school budget. I will say, with everything going on, we still have not heard much out of Albany on a state budget. We are told that there will, if you're watching any of the press releases that are coming out, that a state budget will be on time, if not days ahead of time. But at this point, we have not heard anything on that. What we are hearing is not encouraging, though, that the legislative budget will be out and where we typically get more funding. So we'll update what we have as of today. As of right now, we're watching SED for any state budget so we can wrap this up and get a balanced budget to you. So at this point, I'll turn it over to Matt, present the budget.
Yeah, so I'm really just going to focus on the first couple of slides tonight because really not much has changed since the last presentation we had at the last board meeting. Particularly what we're doing is trying to narrow that budget gap that we had. So at the last meeting, we had approximately a $321,000 budget gap. And as of today, we're looking at, okay, you want to jump to the next slide for me there? Today, we're looking at about $110,000, or $111,000. So really what we're working on is revenue projections right now. Expenditures are staying the same as what they were at the last budget meeting. We're trying to see where we're going to land as far as final state aid goes. Generally speaking, at this point in the year, we are comfortable or confident that we'll see some increase, maybe not enough to really close what we're looking at, but at least some increase. As Jeff mentioned a moment ago, right now we're looking at probably no increase from the government's budget. So The expenditure projections that we're looking at are really maintenance. We're trying to maintain all the programs that we have, and how can we get there with the revenue projection. So with that being said, we've been able to close the gap down to $111,000. And we'll jump over to the next slide, and I will give a little bit of an explanation of where that update
There it is.
All right, we're on revenue projection now. So tax levy hasn't changed, pilots hasn't changed, but one thing you will notice is other revenue is now down $151,000. The main driver of this is over the past few years, we've enjoyed some pretty significant interest earnings on our balances in our reserve accounts. So we've always budgeted for additional revenue from interest earnings. With the action that the Fed took in recent days here, slashing interest rates down to essentially zero, we're removing those interest earnings because we just don't see that that's going to be a viable long-term revenue projection for the coming. The only other piece that you will see on this slide that has a significant change is state aid. Now, again, this is foundation aid. Foundation aid is only projected to go up by about $46,000. What we're looking at is some options that in the current year, we could try to pull in some expenditures that would be applicable under some of the expense-driven aids. So that could be BOCES aid, it could be transportation aid, in order to try to offload some of the expenditures from the following year, but also drive some of that aid. So for an example, if we pull in $50,000 of expenses from the current year, we receive about 62% back. So we're looking at another $32,000 that we would get back next year in aid. So right now, what we're utilizing this strategy is to try to bump up some expense-driven aid purchases that we would make this year that would drive additional aid next year. So it's a revenue item that comes in. What it would also do is if the governor's proposal, which there are some indications that it's looking more likely than in past meetings and conversations, the governor's proposal to roll these expense-driven aids, including BOCES aid, into next year's budget plan. If we can pull these expenditures in this year, it'll set our benchmark higher for the years going forward. So really that's where we're at with the budget so far. There's no other changes from the remaining slides, but we wanted to bring your attention where we're at as far as of today. Do anticipate the budget within the next week and a half or so. So if we can pull together, hopefully we'll have concrete information where the final state budget's going to go, and then really work to balance that budget off with our final preparation.
So if I'm understanding what you're saying, Matt, you're getting the impression that it's more likely than not that certain expense-driven aids, probably not transportation, but probably BOCES aid, will be wrapped into foundation aid. It's looking more and more likely. Is that what you're saying?
Yep, and that has been in the governor's proposal all along. From the perspective of most business officials around the state, was that the legislature will step in and not allow that to happen, but they'll have to trade something off for it. But with all of the circumstances going on right now, it's looking more likely than not that's more so on the table than we anticipated it before. So by pulling some expenses in that would drive expense-driven aids this year, it would allow us to set our benchmark higher if next year it's rolled into foundation aid and they only get the 0.5% or whatever it is that they offer as the governor's proposal.
I'm wondering if you could just make a comment or two on how I assume that would be very, very detrimental to mean, the whole philosophy of the Board of Cooperative Educational Services, you know, BOCES, is that districts come together to save and for efficiency and save money. And the state encourages that by giving you aid whenever you do team up. And if that goes away,
Yeah, Mark, it's a great point. You know, we've been saying the past few years when he's proposed this that it's counterintuitive to what, you know, the governor's been proposing. He's been proposing that school districts and municipalities, you know, work together to share services to consolidate costs, but BOCES in particular is that's what their function is for. So they are to allow districts to pool together with resources they wouldn't ordinarily have on their own. So a perfect example that's kind of one of the ones that you don't see, virtually all of our IT services are a function of BOCES. Whereas, you know, that's something that they manage a significant operation from the Glenwood campus that, you know, a district trying to operate on their own simply couldn't, you know, maintain that functionality. So I think, you know, if this does go through, what you will or you may see is that districts aren't going to be able to continue to expand on services that they currently have. It's going to be trying to maintain, you know, the status quo because you're just not seeing that the incentive in the BOCES driven aid coming back through in the following year.
You bring up a valid point, Mark, and it's really been the topic of discussion in a lot of meetings that this is very concerning to all the school districts and to the BOCES program itself. Flies in the face of what they have been pushing for, you know, a couple of years. Wow, it's been 20 plus years that they've been pushing for this, and you know, there's a real concern that we could lose a lot of services. So
well, I think it would run the risk of exacerbating the whole haves versus have-nots, because if you're like, I don't know, deposit, and you can only have, let's say, a speech teacher for like, you know, 0.4 of a speech teacher, you know, that you're incentivized to get that service through BOCES. And if that financial incentive goes away, that puts pressure on schools to not have services.
absolutely, yeah, that's it. So,
And I just wanted to make sure that was, you know, said and clear, and I think we all hopefully are equally cranky about it.
Well said. Any other questions? If not, we'll move on to the next topic, the educational plans. Yeah, I just wanted to share with the board that if you haven't seen the news lately, there's a lot going on here in the state, the county and the state level. The Broome County closed the public schools as of March 16th, and closed schools up until April 13th, which encompasses the spring break itself. We've had umpteen meetings with the county on the closure and how it's going to be run, on a number of different plans that each district has been asked to put together and submit. Medical field is a highlight. They've come to the district asking for different supplies if we have them available, and I believe all the districts have really been chipping in to help out here. New York State, the governor authorized the closure of public schools up to April 1st. So we have a gap here of 2 weeks that we have to contend with. The governor waived the 180-day attendance regulation up until April 1st, but he did leave the door open that it would be reassessed before April 1 to see if it needed to be extended at all. At this point in time, I believe it will be extended. You know, we're just about a week away, and if you saw the news today, the governor was on there saying that you know, we're probably another 14 days away from the apex of all the health cases that are coming in. So we're waiting this week, hopefully this week, that he'll get back to us to extend that waiver for another 2 weeks at least. In this time frame, the state and the federal government have come through. They've dropped the testing requirements for grades 3 through 8. I will tell you that the state is taking a look at the Regents exams to see just what can be salvaged there, or what decision they'll make. So we're waiting on that at this point in time too. As part of the closure, the district has been asked to submit a number of plans to the state, the continuity of instruction plan, and I will have Laura speaking to that here in a few minutes. We also had to submit a child nutrition plan, which Cliff is going to speak to. Through BOCES, we've gotten a great deal of help, and we've got a good plan that is in place right now, and the number of meals being served seems to be growing, so it is well used. Also, the district was asked to put a child care plan together, which was a strange one for the districts. We're not that well equipped, and especially after the buildings are closed, the staff's at home, we're asked for this plan. But I will say Broome County stepped in and said, wait a minute, that's their jurisdiction. They were submitting the plans to help first responders, health officials, nurses, doctors, so forth, to provide care for their children as they're working on the testing and the claims that are coming in. So, Cliff, you want to take it from here?
Definitely. And so just want to let everyone know that, you know, communications definitely coming out of district for district-wide communication, and all the communication can be found on the district website. So with that, there's been numerous communications that come out for students and for parents and for families. There's also been a lot of communication for teachers and all staff. So with that, just want to make sure that we're constantly communicating with all stakeholders and keep them apprised of what's happening next. So later this week, we are looking to get some more communication out to our families just to update them of what's happening. So also you should know, if anyone calls one of our numbers in the school building, there is a recording that indicates that the school building is closed, and it does refer the individual to the website. And on the website, if you go to the website, just below, you see a big picture of the Golden Bear. Just before the Golden Bear, it says you click here, and then that's where you communicate with all the building principals. There's a list of email addresses there, and that does connect with building principal and the clerical staff of each building. And in the middle school and the high school, it also connects with the assistant principals and dean of students. So that way, if any parents need to communicate with the specific buildings, they can do that via email. Also, just so you know that, you know, with our buildings being closed, we do have custodians that are coming in on a daily basis, on a rotating basis, and they're coming in just to check, do a walkthrough of the buildings, just to make sure there's not a leaking pipe, or, you know, a window is blown open or something like that. They do walk through the building every day just to check to make sure everything's all right. And that's been going on since we did close the buildings. Also, just going back to the website, on the top there's a red banner, and in that red banner there's a link that does connect to our home learning. area on the website, and that's what Dr. Lamash, she'll be speaking about that later. But like I was saying, all the communication is through that website. Essential employees. So essential employees at the district level here is district admin. If we're not here on a daily basis, then there is, we communicate via Zoom or phone, but we're trying to have definitely district admin, multiple district admin here in the offices just in case anyone needs to get a hold of us, and we can work with all of the teachers and other building admin. And like I said before, custodians are rotating in the buildings. We also have shipping and receiving individuals that are working as needed as items arrive at the school or the mail, and they distribute that type of thing. Also, our food service workers. So they're coming in on a schedule from 9 till about 1:15 at Clayton Avenue Elementary and at African Road Elementary, and that's coordinated through Mark Bordeaux. What's happened there is that through Broome County, we're continuing to make sure that we provide breakfast and lunch meals for students that need that. And so on an average, we provide between the two sites between 400 and 500 combination of breakfast and lunch meals per day from Vestal.
Really?
And yeah,
It's growing.
It's growing.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Very good.
And we're doing deliveries too.
Yeah. So how that works, right, Mario? So how that works is if individuals can come to Clayton Avenue between 10 and 1 p.m. and African Road Elementary, our food service staff has everything prepackaged in a bag, and people do not come in the building, but they just hand it to people as they come up and they get it. So anyone that's 18 years or younger, or if a parent says they have 3 children at home, then they give them 3 bags. So no questions asked. Anyone who needs it, it's there for them. So with that, our SROs, some people can't get there, they don't have transportation, so we have a list of those individuals, and our SROs take the meals to their home, and they deliver that.
Yeah.
So it's worked out really good. It's called Grab and Go is the name of the program, and it is a combination of breakfast food and lunch food. Most of it's non-perishable, except they do have some milk. They put milk in the bags.
Yeah. Now that, just to let everybody know, the schedule is week to week, and it shows up on our website. So you can access that schedule each week as it's updated.
Now, we only provide that Monday through Friday, right?
Yeah, so this week it's Monday through Friday. We've been on numerous phone calls with Mark Bordeaux this week, and they are changing it because of employees coming to work on a daily basis. So Broome County has reached out and asked that they alternate different sites. So what's going to happen is starting next week, and notices are going in the lunches, in the bags this week, so everyone knows. And as soon as we get that notice, we'll have it on our website also. But what's happening next week is on Tuesday is the only pickup. Tuesday and Friday are the only 2 pickup days in Vestal. And what happens is those students will receive 3 days worth of food on Tuesday and 3 days worth of food on Friday. The program has been where it provides food 6 days of the week, and that's the program. So we have been on Fridays given 2 days worth of food.
Okay.
But that's changing. So what they're doing is rotating around to the other districts. Some districts will provide food on Mondays, Wednesdays. We're doing Tuesday, Friday. And our district may do, Monday, Thursday. But Mark Bordeaux has a schedule, so people could, if they wanted to, they could drive to different locations in Broome County. But if they just want to stick with Vestal, then we can give them 3 days worth of food on Tuesday and 3 days worth of food on Friday.
Okay.
And the backpack program is continuing at this point in time. So that's on top of the food that we're handing out in the grab and go.
And that backpack program, that's all been delivered through our SROs.
Yeah.
So they volunteered to do that.
Okay.
One last item is Chromebooks, and Dr. Lamash will talk about that a little bit, but I can give you the numbers. We have distributed 334 Chromebooks to students and 40 Chromebooks to staff who indicated that they needed Chromebooks. We've also extended that just today. We're sending a Google form to our principals, and if they know of any students in need who didn't receive one, then we will make sure our SRO takes a Chromebook to their home. So we'll be doing that. So we want to make sure all of our students have access to a device while they're at home during this time.
Now, do you know of any families that don't have internet service or are limited in that sort of way?
Right. Nothing to my knowledge,
Okay.
but we did, Dr. Lamash has her hand up so she could.
Yeah, so our principals, so I've been meeting with the principals all week, but
Sure.
what we're trying to do is the principals are using phone calls. So when teachers are feeling like they're not getting any response from students through, through email or, then we're calling families and checking in. And I know some principals actually went to some homes. So we're trying to pick up those families that are kind of not online.
Yeah.
And what we're working on this week, and I was just talking to Jeff today about trying to target families who don't have access to online learning. And what we're now going to start building in next week is some kind of print resource. Working on that, and trying and working with teachers on that. We can develop like a list of those families that might need something other than what we can offer today.
Right. Okay.
I will say with the whole thing, all of this, we're in uncharted territory. And I keep telling people the word is flexibility. What Laura was just alluding to, we find things on a daily basis and just try to address any of the issues, any of the problems, bridge any gaps. When this is behind us, we can sit down and maybe put together better plans based on our experiences now.
I'm all set.
All set? Yep. So, Laura, you want to get the educational?
Yeah, when this is behind us, we have a big group hug, okay? I want a big group hug. Really. So I'm incredulous. I walk around trying to figure out how do you build a virtual school district, because basically that's what we've been charged to do, is build a virtual school district.
In a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Some things that I've been working every day, all day for the last week and a half now. Vestal, our style, as you know, is to go slow and steady and methodically. What we're really trying to build right now is an infrastructure that can get us through several months. So what I've been working on this week, and you can see a lot of this on our website, but there's a whole component that just in the last 2 days we're developing, is trying to develop some foundational platforms for online learning. Today, we purchased and are going to be deploying typing to learn for our grades 3 through 5. We have purchased and we're deploying IXL Math as online math resources. We purchased Raz Kids, which is online reading K-5. So at the elementary level especially, we're trying to set into place a lot of structures so that families can set students up to do work, because we're recognizing a lot of our families, they're not teachers. So it's been real interesting, but I do believe in the next week or so, we're going to have a very robust. If you go to the website, you can visit the website, and you can see the extent of our web resources. That's kind of right now our foundation. And we are referring our families to the website. And but for some families, it's hard for them to sort through all of that. There's a lot of information out there right now, all these things you can do. So the other structure we're putting in place right now is a weekly email to parents at the elementary level, because we have 5 schools, saying, look, this week, focus on that. So an email is going to be going out at the end of this week. For next week, these are things you should focus on. Get your kids hooked up to PBS Learning. Have them watch TV. Here's the schedule, go for it. That doesn't need internet, and that's a good one, and they have worksheets to go with it. This week coming up, get your kids into typing to learn. You set it up, the class rosters are in, get started. So we're also looking at our weekly emails to our elementary families saying, there's a lot out there, but if you can focus on 2 or 3 things this week, you're good. So we're trying to break it down for our parents who are not teachers. At the middle school, Anne is working with Patrick to build weekly work assignments at each grade level, and you can see those on the website. At the secondary level, I've been working a lot with Dawn. And first off, right now we're the only district, I believe, in the region that's purchased Ingenuity online coursework. So we've also have infrastructure there where in the next week or so, we will be able to move students into an interactive curriculum online. So Algebra 1, Algebra 2, Geometry, English 9, English 10. So that there's some continuity of instruction there. And then today, we're moving forward with Fast Forward, dual enrollment courses, Fast Forward AP. Our teachers now will be instructing with grades in that regionally today. We were given the go-ahead to do that. So our secretary will be doing, will be maintaining some coursework and attached to that assessment and evaluation. So it's 1 week, and we've got started. But just know, as a district, we're also looking long term. You know what? I will be very happy if you don't need to use it. But come April 14th, if we're still out of session, we won't be scrambling. I feel by that time we're going to have some very capable keep our going. But one thing you can tell the board that we're talking about is next year will be very different. I don't, the elimination of testing, I do anticipate next year we're going to have to really rethink our curriculum. Our second grade students are going to have to begin the year learning first grade curriculum. Likewise on down. So I do think that we're looking also long term that what happens this year is really going to change the nature of instruction next year. So those will be conversations we're going to be having. So, any questions?
Anybody have any questions? If not, if you get a chance, go out on our website and take a look at all of this information that Laura is just sharing. There's a lot of information out there, a lot of materials, a lot of resources. So a lot done in a very short time. Some of the pending issues, things that we don't know yet. The state budget is one of those. When's it coming out and what's it going to look like? And I don't expect it's going to be as favorable as it has been in the past, just due to everything that's happening in the communities and in the economy itself. So the board elections, the annual budget vote. There's talk in Albany about different options to handle this. Absentee ballots is one, but also they're talking about maybe pushing it back to a later date to try and get on the other side of this virus. We're taking a look at our school events still, things that have been going on. A number of trips have been canceled, but now we're looking at the prom situation and how we're going to manage those. Will they be canceled? Will they be delayed? There's a lot to consider there. And then we also are looking forward to, what's the situation for graduation? Those are all things that right now they're up in the air. We're waiting to see how quickly this virus takes to work its way through and what we can do at that point in time. That's just a lot of information in a nutshell. I got to tell you, it's been nonstop here in the district during the week, weekends, nights. everybody has really pitched in, and I just want to say thank you to everybody. You know, our teachers have stepped up and done a wonderful job. Our support staff, the clerical, maintenance, and custodial staff has stepped up. Our administrators, you know, and a special thanks to our food service workers who have made this meal plan program really work for our kids, and our SROs. You know, they've taken a lot. I can tell you, day one they were here at the door saying, "What can we do to help?" So thanks to the town and the police department for making this happen for us. And a big thanks to our tech people. None of this would have even got off the ground without them. And I would like to say, you know, thanks to Cliff and to Laura too for the yeoman work that they've been doing. I can't begin to tell you how fast and furious it's been. And without them in place, I probably wouldn't be sitting here. So, as I tell everybody on a daily basis, the word is flexibility. With what we're experiencing, things change on an hourly basis, and everybody needs to be flexible in order to deal with this and get on the other side of it. So, thanks.
Jeff,
Yes.
it's Tony. I just want to commend you and everybody that you thanked. I mean, it really is uncharted waters, and I appreciate it. I'm sure everyone does, all the work you've done and all the work everyone's done. It's just amazing.
Yeah, Tony, thank you, and thanks on behalf of the whole staff. I do want to say thanks for the email. I did share that with the staff, your work, and I'm going to frame that actually.
Well, you should make it a nice frame now.
Thank you.
And Tony, I got to say you beat me to the punch because I've been able to spend a lot of time over here in the district. I've been watching these guys scrambling, and all I can see is the smoke from everybody working around here as hard as they do. It's just been something to witness as far as how hard everything's been. You know, how hard everyone's been working at it. You know, working weekends and working, you know, long hours and the effort that's gone into it. And I get to witness it on my wife's, as my wife being one of the teachers and seeing what she's doing and the support that she's getting as a result of, you know, what's happening here at the district. And so all I can say is it's just been a remarkable thing to witness. So I thank you to everyone here.
Thanks. Thank you.
All right. Hey, so now that we're going back to new business here, I'd like to just go through attendance one more time if I could. So if I could get everyone to call in again. Lynn?
Lynn is here.
Linda?
Yep, she's here.
Tony?
Here.
I know Tony. John?
Here.
Mark?
Here.
Dina?
Here.
Here.
Sylvia?
Oh, you know.
Dina, Sylvia? And Christina?
Christina's here.
Okay, thanks. All right, now on to new business. Can I have a motion to accept Schedule A, B, C, F, and T?
Motion, Dino.
Dino, and second?
Second, Mark.
Questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained? Okay, the schedules are accepted. Resolution 1, unrepresented employee wages during closure.
Motion, Lynn.
Second?
Second, Christina.
Questions? Second is Christina. Questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
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 All right.
Opposed? Abstained? The motion's accepted. Resolution 2, proposition number 2, school bus purchases.
Motion,
Tony?
Christina.
Tony and Christina? Questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained? Motion is accepted. And no, I'm not going to read all that.
Wait a minute. It's not official then, is it?
Yeah, it's totally official, okay? So don't even try that now.
As written.
As written. Resolution 3, Public Library, Vestal Public Library 2020 proposition.
Motion, Lynn.
Motion, Linda.
Lynn and Linda?
Second.
All right. And I'm not going to read that one either. Questions or comments?
You realize your pay's being docked, right?
Yeah, that's okay. You can keep it all. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? Motion is accepted. Resolution 4, authorization to join a group bid. Can I have a motion, please?
Motion, Christina.
I'm sorry, Christina and who? Dino?
Linda.
Christina and Dino. Questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained? Motion is accepted. Resolution 5, acceptance of grant funds. Can I have a motion?
Motion,
Tony,
Lynn.
motion?
Linda and Tony. Questions or comments? This is definitely not a clumsy process at all. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained? Motion is accepted. Resolution 6, contract for architectural services, building condition survey. Can I have a motion, please?
Motion, Dino?
Christina.
Lynn.
Dino and Christina. Questions or comments?
Mario, I just want to mention one thing on this. Just a small piece of wording. It should say at an amount not to exceed 291,145.
Okay.
So we'll just have to correct that. I just want to make sure that everybody knows that before it's voted on. We'll correct it so that the minutes are reflected.
Okay. So it'll be corrected so that it say not to exceed 291,145. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Abstained? Motion is accepted. Resolution 7, interpreter services, service agreement. Can I have a motion, please?
Tony?
Christina.
Tony and Christina. Questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained? Motion is accepted. Do we have any questions or comments for the voice of the public? All right, so there are no questions or comments there. Future board meetings, provided that everything goes as planned, we'll have a future board meeting on Monday, April 20th. It's a 6 o'clock regular meeting that will be ideally at the board conference room if everything goes as planned. Following meeting will be Tuesday, May 5th. That'll be a 6 o'clock regular meeting. That'll be a public hearing. That'll be at Clayton Ave in the auditorium. The following meeting is Tuesday, May 19th. That's an 8 p.m. Regular meeting. That'll be the annual vote. That'll be in the board conference room, provided that we have a vote. Be flexible. Flexible. And then finally, Tuesday, June 9th, it's a 6 p.m. regular meeting. That'll be in the board conference room.
One thing, should we get the state budget and get everything balanced on the budget, the school budget, and we can reach out to the board, coming together for another meeting,
Yeah.
answer any questions on the budget for that. So,
So be flexible for another special meeting.
Okay.
And so we'll try to do something like this again, if that were to be the case.
we'll work on this.
This was great. I loved it.
I'm comfortable.
Don't even want to know.
Don't ask.
All right, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion, Lynn.
You know,
Lynn and Dino. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained? We are adjourned. Hey, thank you so much, folks.
Thanks, everybody.
Hey, you did a
Thank
great
you.
job,
Thank
Mario.
you.
Thanks.
Hey, thanks.
Aye.
Hey,
Bye.
bye.
Oh, I was going to hang it up.
Whose colors?